I'm proud to announce another young man. I call him young man, but he's probably just hit 40. And one of my former players, and probably in my 25 years at CB West, I don't know if we had a guy who made a bigger splash in terms of toughness. Talk about grit, just leadership at a young age, and it doesn't surprise us that he went into the field he did as a Special Forces leader. This is Brian Buckley. Brian played for us on the 97, 98, 99, am I right, Brian, or is it? 97, 98, when they didn't lose a game, or we didn't lose a game in that 4-year stretch. And but Brian went to the University of Massachusetts on a full football ride. When 9/11 occurred, Brian was one of the young men that said, I gotta leave and stop what I'm doing and help this country out. He enlisted, and he'll tell you the whole thing, in the Marines, or he actually went to Villanova and joined, got into ROTC, enlisted into the Marines, tried out for the Special Forces, not only made the Special Marine, they're called Marine Raiders, equivalent to the Navy SEALs and the Army Rangers, but he became a captain, led many missions into Iraq and Afghanistan, and was wounded multiple times, won many medals. He's probably floating on cloud 9 right now, but Brian Buckley.
All right, got all the answers here in my yellow notepad I stole from Ray Didinger. All right, guys, so hey, good afternoon. I'm Brian Buckley. Who here knows who, like show of hands, who's Yuri Gagarin? Who knows him? Raise your hand. All right. Who knows of a Kardashian? More people, okay. So Yuri Gagarin, he was a Soviet cosmonaut, and he's the first human being who was sent up into space and came back successfully. Pretty big deal, right? Could you imagine someone just saying to you, like, listen, I'm going to strap your backside to this rocket and send you up in space, and we're going to bring you back. And he did it. So one thing, I mean, that's a pretty incredible thing he did. I would tell people, look at your habits of what you kind of pay attention to. But also think about that crazy goal of saying, we're going to send you into space on this huge rocket. I mean, that's pretty crazy, and a lot of people say that's almost unimaginable, but not to everyone. So a couple things I want to hit on to you guys today is talking about, really, ever since the day you were born, it has always been you versus you, all right? And you can be really hard on yourself and be your own worst critic at times. When I was playing at CB West, Coach Pettin, he knew I was a mama's boy. Sometimes he couldn't get messages to me, so he would call my mom and kind of have it relayed to me. And one of the things he always got annoyed with me about was how hard I was on myself. But you can use that to your advantage. You can use that to help you find your passion, help you set goals. And one thing I really want to kind of hit you guys on is talking about fear versus faith. What is that? With fear versus faith, I want to think of like a race car driver. When they're spinning out of control, they're not sitting there staring at the wall, because what's going to happen? They're going to end up hitting the wall. They're looking for an open area where they can get out to, right? So the fear of not like, hey, I'm going to hit that wall, it's more of the faith of what do I have to do in order to get to where I want to be. And that's a pretty big thing that has helped me out throughout my entire life when I start setting goals. I was trying to think of like, how do I kind of, I think people walk around like with a sense of entitlement lately. And, I always look at things, the world owes you nothing, but it will provide you opportunities. And what you take of those opportunities is good what defines you. Dana Hahn. Just caught you looking at your phone, look at that one. All right, did I like football growing up? Stop being embarrassed. All right, that's good. Can't blame me on that one. But did I like football growing up? Okay, I loved football. I was obsessed with football. When I was coming through here at Lenape Junior High, I mean, my entire goal, I have Coach Ben said here, he'll validate this. I had a goal. I was going to start as a sophomore at CB West. Now, back then, your first year at West was 10th grade, unless you're Dave Armstrong, who went up as a freshman. But I was not interested in special teams, nothing like that. I had to get out in the field, and I had to start. And I did whatever it took. Throughout the week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'd be at Riley Gym that used to be here in Doylestown. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I had speed. I was fast. I could beat pretty much everyone here in my grade. I went up to CB West. I found a guy named Rafael Castillo, who was a 11th grader. I would go up and train with him in the hallways at West while my friends were out doing other things. Because I had a goal, and I knew it was going to take me to be in that arena, and I was going to be the one who had to get there and make it happen. And come up to West, moved pretty quickly. I was on varsity lifting quickly. I didn't play one snap on JV. They put me right up to varsity. And by the end of the first game, I was in the rotation. And the next week, I had my first official start, and I was named Defensive Player of the Week. But those were goals that I had set that I was going to go out and get. Why? Because I believed in myself. I had faith. I wasn't thinking of the negative outcomes. I was just thinking the positive things I had to do to come along the way. Coach Carey brought up, football was my life. When I went to the University of Massachusetts, I was, making ground there. I was ended up starting towards the end of the season of my redshirt freshman year as a fullback. But during that year, that's when we had an experience with September 11th, 2001, or 9/11. And we'll never forget that day. We'll go down to the football complex, jump up on the table to get taped up. They're like, hey, we don't think we're going to tape today. We had 3, big screen TVs in our locker room. Probably about a dozen guys from New York City on the team. This is where I age myself. Cell phones were not what they were then, what they are now. We were pretty much still tied to landlines, so they couldn't get a hold of anyone. So a lot of confusion. And ultimately, we didn't practice that day. I lived with 5 other football players. We went out, got some adult beverages and brought them back to the house, and we were just watching news like everyone else. And that's when you started seeing what was happening when people were throwing themselves out of the World Trade Towers. And you just kind of had to sit there and think for a second, how bad of a situation are they in that they think this is their best course of action? And I'll never forget seeing this one female. She threw herself out, and she was holding her dress as she was falling down. And something just spoke to me there where that was America. She made a decision, and she was going to do it with dignity. And I know this sounds corny, I know it sounds cliche, but I literally got up, went into our bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror, and said, time for me to go earn my citizenship. And from that point on, I knew which route I was going to go. Didn't say anything to my roommates, didn't say anything to teammates. I finished the season. And that's when I started informing everyone I was going to stop playing football and transfer to Villanova University and go into the ROTC program. When I graduated Villanova, I was commissioned a lieutenant in the Marine Corps, went into the infantry. First deployment was to Fallujah, Iraq. I came back. They said, hey, you did a really good job. Why don't you try out for this thing called Marine Reconnaissance? Went, tried out for that, made it. They sent me right back to Iraq 6 months later. When I returned from that deployment, we were getting our special operations side stood up. They asked me to go take selection. About 300 of us went to selection, and at the end of the whole entire process, there was about 25 of us left, and I was one of them. And I was made into what they would call a team commander and spent a majority of my time in the Marine Corps as a team commander, conducting deployments to Africa, Southeast Asia, and also Afghanistan as well. When I was in Afghanistan, the special operation units, we were doing 2 types of mission. You had village support platforms. We had Navy SEALs, Marine Raiders, Green Berets. They're dressed up in the traditional Afghan dress, fully bearded out, living in the villages with the people and standing up local police forces, building wells, basically to give them a point to kind of survive on their own, build up security in their own local economy. My team was tasked out to be the commando mission. So in the middle of the night, we would be on the black helicopters with every aircraft you can think of above us, and we would fly in to go after high-value Taliban targets. We weren't there to shake hands or, kiss babies. If you got if you rated a meeting with us, it was going to be a pretty intense moment. And I never forget we're flying into this one mission in this area called Kaligas. which actually was pretty much the capital of the Taliban in the Helmand Province. You know, as we're flying in, you could see an early warning network. Basically, Taliban people would come out with torches and just kind of throw them up in the air, and there'll be a connecting file to follow the sound of the helicopters to where we were so they could meet us on the ground. As we're coming in, we're about 300 feet off the deck. We're whizzing in through canyons, and that's when the laser light show starts happening, and you start seeing all the ammunition, small arms fire, and rocket-propelled grenades coming up at us. We came in under fire. It was a pretty hellish moment, I would say, but we were just kind of keeping calm, doing what we had to do, problem solved, and moved on. But I remember just saying to myself, man, this mission, we're going to earn our stories on this one. And the next day, we're just in a fighting position, and you know, I just never forget, I'm talking to one of my corpsmen, and it was just a hot July day. I mean, it's like 120 degrees, like 99% humidity, just miserable. And I'm like, boy, I could go for an ice-cold Coca-Cola right now. And as soon as I said that, this basically, it's called an underbarrel grenade launcher. Grenade just flew by my head. It sounded like a fly ball, like a baseball going by you. And it happened real fast, but I did have that moment where I just thought to myself, they got me. And the thing cranked off right next to me, basically sent shrapnel all throughout the left side of my body, including the left side of my head. My corpsman, he lost part of his tricep, and our dog handler took shrapnel inside his stomach, which he literally woke up 2 weeks ago in Bethesda, Maryland, having no idea what just happened. But when that kicked off, it was just a very complex firefight. I've been in a lot of gunfights in my life, but this one just had a little bit more intensity to it. You know, I definitely know what it's like to be in a popcorn machine now. The ground underneath of me was just popping up all around me. It literally looked like giants put their hands on the tree line and shaking it. There was just so much small arms fire and rocket-propelled grenades and mortars and everything coming at us. And I'm wounded at this point. A lot of blood coming out from my left leg. But it was, you know, this is where it gets weird, right? I wasn't at all at any moment thinking, oh God, I'm shot or anything like that. It didn't really matter at that point. Now, a ton of adrenaline hit me, so I had to take a moment to just kind of, a couple deep breaths and just calm down. But from there, I just started looking at the battlefield and just started problem solving and talking with my teammates. You know, I told them, you know, I called my higher command to let them know what was going on, that we're about to be overran. And we just started going through the problem sets. And next thing you know, the enemy that started that fight, they no longer walk on the earth, and we all made it out of there. Why? Because we had faith in each other. We had faith in what we were going to do. And that's just things that helped me get through life and helped me kind of get to where I am today, and there's still a lot more goals to be had. You know, and when I bring up those stories, and a lot of times people always come up to me, they want to thank me for my service, and it's greatly appreciated. But no one owes me anything. You know, I want to thank you for letting me serve. You know, for me, it was a tremendous honor to do that. You know, I want to thank you guys for having the faith in us, that every time you went down to go lay your head on a pillow, you knew you were safe because we had to watch, and no one was going to touch you that night because we would do the unimaginable to keep you safe. You know, and at the end of the day, thank you for giving me, you know, the honor of a lifetime. Not everyone gets to serve with their heroes, but I did. And people ask me, what's some of the like medals and things you've won? Well, the best medals I ever had, I wear in my heart every day. It's the men that I got to serve with. Again, not everyone gets to serve with their heroes, but I did. And you know, this guys just kind of wrap this thing up. You know, again, thank you, and you know, thank you for being Doylestown. This place means so much to me. And you know, at the end of the day, guys, you know, thank you for showing up here. It's a really big deal. It's the little things that are going to make the difference in your guys' life. You know, and I want to leave you with this. We have a Marine Reconnaissance Creed, and at the end of it says, a recon Marine can speak without saying a word and achieve what others can only imagine. Go forward with that mindset. I'm telling you, it's going to pay off dividends for you. You can run, you can lift, you can do all that stuff, but if you don't have the right mindset, nothing's going to happen for you. And I promise you, as I'm sitting on a stage, which I'm now kind of regretting because I have to get up and I'm a little bit old and cranky, but we'll make it work. In a couple of years, you will hear about what me and my team have done where we're helping out on veterans' medical health. I'm going to change the medical landscape of this country, I promise you. Why? Because I have faith in myself, I have faith in my team, I know how I'm going to accomplish my goals. So hey, just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for Coach Carey for putting this on. We'll be able to talk a little bit later. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.